Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I rise to give a private member's statement today on an issue that's very dear to my community, and that is renewable energy and a complete no to nuclear energy. Mr Speaker, as you know, yesterday I was shut down by the National Party when I tried to make a contribution about a public interest debate on nuclear energy and ruling it out. That it had no future in New South Wales, and also a Labor woman of colour was also denied the opportunity, and it's terrible because we've been talking in this House about intimate partner violence and misogyny, and when we see those attitudes towards women here in this place, it's very, very disappointing. And I'm not suggesting, I'm sure it was more political, but it is disappointing when it is the women that are silenced here. Mr Speaker, and I rely heavily on an incredible article by Marion Wilkinson in the May Monthly, who has done a deep dive on the state capture, well, really national capture of the National Party in particular, but also the LNP at federal level. The predictability of the LNP at federal level waging a war on renewables is so stark and would be so laughable if it wasn't so horrendously serious for communities across the country, but particularly for communities that have seen the extreme weather events of the last few years. Just this week, we heard the shocking prediction by the Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change that we are already locked into 2.5 degrees of warming globally. Those of us who are paying attention and who have believed scientists from across the world for over 50 years, and let's just note that the seminal text, The Limits to Growth, was published in 1972, commissioned by the Club of Rome, and outlined almost to the letter what we are experiencing today. And that's not to mention, Mr Speaker, the countless reports and scientific evidence that's told us the same thing. I watched my first term here, the Liberals and Nationals in denial in complete denial of climate change. Then they had their road to Damascus somewhere in my second term. Maybe it was the 5-year drought, the Black Summer bushfires, the 2017 floods, who knows? But it was a great thing to see. The sceptic in me, though, watched the announcement to create renewable energy zones in regional New South Wales and the announcement of targets without any roadmaps, any detail, or a just transition plan for mining workers and large amounts of money being invested. I thought, the Nats think they can make some money out of all this. However, I thought, whatever works. But after the LNP federally lost government dramatically, the worm has turned, and it's unfortunately turned in the New South Wales Coalition as well. Back to the dark ages of thinking that the latest tech bro buzzy technology that none of us actually in here understand is going to save the day. Back then, it was carbon capture and storage. Fail. Now it is nuclear, small modular reactors and micro modular reactors. But Mr Speaker, this is where we enter the lobbyist and Queensland squillionaire Trevor St Baker and SMR nuclear technology. Mr Baker just happens to be very critical of federal Labor's plans to fast-track renewables, is very wealthy, a former coal baron, and very close to former National Party President Larry Anthony, who Baker also employed as a lobbyist through Anthony's company SAS Consulting. You may reflect that Larry Anthony was the chairman of Coalition for Conservation. So suddenly the same speaking notes of Trevor St Baker and his company SMR Technology have become the speaking points of the LNP opposition leader Peter Dutton and his coal to nuclear absurdity. Mr Speaker, in the latest Gen Cost report by CSIRO comparing the prices of power generation, small modular reactors emerged as the highest cost technology compared to solar and wind by a large margin. I am very pleased to see that state Labor are progressing and escalating our road to the renewable future. There is so much potential, and we look forward to working with them, and honestly say to the Nationals that have decided to distract us with the idea of small nuclear reactors that you are a dinosaur and that you need to sit back and let everyone else get on with it.